Oh. What? It's over there. Oh, yeah. But if you're doing that... Oh, my bad. No, that's fine. Just... Let me see what it looks like. Nice one. I wonder if the ending... So let's pretend that we are in the Smith Recording Studios in the basement of the Nielsen Library. How did you start coming here? When was the first time you came to these studios? When I was in, what year was I? I think I was a sophomore, because that's when I found out about the place. I forget how I found out about it, but there's this, like, underground place that only, like, production students or music students know about, and I found it somehow, and I was, like, fucking in love immediately, because there were just computers everywhere, and then I applied for a job there, and I started working there, so I would just make music all the time during my work shifts. Even though I wasn't really supposed to leave the desk. What did you use to make music with? Well, in the back they have this, like, it's like a small booth. It's like very, very tiny. But they have 2 mics, and they have a PC, like Mac desktop or whatever. And so I just used to record there, making beats and producing. Everything I have ever done in my life has been on GarageBand, and which is like really trivial, I guess, to a lot of people, but since I've been using it since I was 12 years old, I really know how to manipulate the program, so it sounds pretty fucking legit. Yeah, let's go back to the past. Let's describe your first musical endeavors. It's so funny. Well, when I was really, really young, like 8 years old, I was in an Afro-Caribbean percussive ensemble, and so I was, like, known in my elementary school for playing congas like a beast, and I used to play, like, 3-drum salsa, merengue, like, what else? Just, like, a bunch of shit, and we used to sound amazing, and we were all from, like, 10 to 13 years old, and we used to leave school for shows and stuff like that, which I thought was really fucking cool. And then when I was at home, like, maybe like from 12 to 15, when my mom first heard about like Apple computers, we got an Apple computer, and I found this program, GarageBand, so I started fucking with it and making like beats, but I didn't know how to change the tempo or like use the program then, so the first thing I ever made was techno beats, which I was like blown away, because I would just use the samples and like put them together, and it would sound crazy dynamic, but just like all over the place. But it was enjoyable. Like, I remember playing it to friends and then being like, oh, this is kind of cool. And I was just like, I don't know. I thought it was cool, but eventually I figured out how to change my tempo, and then that's when I started making hip-hop and shit, which was funny. Have you always been rapping over the beats you've been making on GarageBand? Or when did you start? How did you start getting into the vocals? Well, I used to write, like, poetry, kind of. Like, I've always had diaries since I was really young, and I would write thoughts to myself, and then I started writing poetry, but in the form of rhymes, and so that was kind of my first thing. But in terms of, like, reciting out loud, I think it didn't happen until later, maybe, like, freshman year of high school, when I took a poetry performance class, and my teacher fucking forced me to perform. Like, I never wanted to perform, and he was just like, you're too, like, good, you should perform, and I never wanted to do it, and he forced me to do it in front of my whole class. And then after that year, I started hosting all the talent shows. I won first and second place in the talent show, and I was the host, so people, like, hated me. Like, it was just crazy. All of a sudden, I just started, like, doing all these, like, public performances things and getting really comfortable with my voice. And then I always really wanted to freestyle, so I would sit with my beats that I made, and I would try to freestyle over them all because I just really wanted to get good. So I would practice like in the showers and beatboxing, and I don't know. I was singing a lot too. I forgot about that. I used to sing Usher songs in my shower, like very intensely, and like mirroring Justin Timberlake's "Gone," like the NSYNC "Gone," because I thought the vocal range was crazy in that song when I was young. So I used to just try to like copy him. It's funny. CC with a CC me.
So let's fast forward. You went to Smith College, and when you started working in the library is when you discovered this production studio. Um, like, when did you start? When did you decide to come forward with the music you've made? Like, I feel like it's recent. No, is it this year that you've come forward?
I mean,
when did you first like show people?
I've always been
tracks?
Kind of showing people stuff, but before I was more focused on my production. So when I was like still figuring that out, I would be like, "Oh, like, can you listen to?" But it was very rare. Like I've always been very private because I don't like to show people art in mediocre forms or like in beginning stages, just because I feel like they'll judge you off of that first impression for the rest of your life because it's really fucking important. And so I never showed people my music really or things that I took seriously because it was too close to me. But now I think I just reached the point where I'm like, I understand that from hearing this from other people for so long, I understand now that I have a skill. And I know that I have a skill because I can record myself and listen to it and look at myself from another perspective and be like, oh, like, that kind of actually sounds dope. And so now I've reached a point where I feel comfortable playing things for people because I actually appreciate it as an outsider, as opposed to just being like, I made this, check it out, it's dope because I made it. Like, you know what I mean? Which is what a lot of people do because they have euphoria when they make shit and they're like, yeah, this is amazing. Like, I just made it. The idea is great. But then they listen to it with someone and they're like, actually, it's not that great. It's kind of whack. So no, yeah, I just feel not with everything, but with the stuff that I think is good, I feel comfortable enough to share it.
Knowing you, I know you've loved Kanye West when you were in high school. Who else did you look up to during this, like,
during high school?
During your whole come up as a musician?
I really liked Kanye just because I appreciated him as an artist entirely. Like, not because of his rapping and not because of his production only. Like, it was him as a total package. So, like, I only appreciate people because of their total packages, and I don't look at people based off of one lens. And, like, him, Ryan Leslie was, like, the reason why I started making music. Like, maybe I like made production and stuff or attempted to make stuff when I was a kid, but it wasn't until I started learning about who Ryan Leslie was, because he was the only person during this period, maybe like early 2000s, to put videos of himself making the beats online. Nobody had ever put footage online of like the process they went through to make a hit. And so that, watching that process, I was like blown away, and I'm just like, I want to do this. I want to be that person. Like, I never knew what it was like for a producer to sit with a MIDI like keyboard and like a sampler or whatever and just make a beat completely from scratch. And so when I saw him do that, I was like, it doesn't look like, it looks amazing and maybe difficult, but not difficult enough. So I felt like I could do this too. And he was really my inspiration because he's a fucking genius. And then after him, that's when I started getting really into Kanye, because I started watching videos of Kanye doing the same thing. But it was more so Ryan before Kanye. Ryan was like my world because he's also an R&B artist and just like phenomenal musician. So I wanted to be like him. And him, Kanye, I was really obsessed with this kid named Labyrinth from the UK, who's also another like artist. Like, he makes beats, he writes songs, he's a singer, he can rap when he feels like it. Like, I just love people who can do everything at once. And so I think for me, that's the most important part of being inspired by somebody, is understanding that, like, all of their assets. And who else? In terms of rapping, though, like, I've gone through a crazy journey with that, too, because before, I would only listen to, like, for inspiration, like, Eminem was one of my biggest rap inspirations growing up as a kid. I can tell you, like, line by line, all the crazy shit I used to recite by Eminem, which is so funny, too, because a lot of it was very homophobic, and now I see who I am today, and I'm like, I probably wouldn't be singing that if I knew, but he's fucking crazy. So, Eminem, I love Biggie, like, basic, regular, amazing people. I love Andre 3000 is fucking amazing. I'm right at this moment, though, my biggest inspirations have been J. Cole, Vic Mensa, and who have I just started recently? J. Cole, Vic Mensa, and there's one. I love Earl. Earl inspires me like crazy, and Kendrick. Those are my biggest. And a lot of people frown when I say J. Cole, because J. Cole is like, I didn't like J. Cole either, because I felt like his music or his albums before Illuminati were the albums that you could play at a barbecue and just let run and nobody really pays attention to them, because they're so like, they have the same kind of vibe. Like, it's just like straight line, you know? But I really started appreciating him recently, like maybe the last 6 months, because if you go online and you type in J. Cole freestyle, Hot 97 Funk Flex freestyle, your life will be changed. Like, J. Cole is incredible. Like, his talent is ridiculous, and nobody notices it, because I think there's a difference between, like, an artist or a rapper who recites and actually raps and has that skill, and a rapper who sounds great production-wise and quality-wise in the fucking studio, where someone has edited and engineered and made everything sound so amazing. There's a difference, and some people sound great on tracks, and some people sound terrible live, and some people don't have that, like, rapper persona. And this is probably what you were getting at with the Kanye thing. You know, like, I love Kanye, but when I watch him on videos online, like, freestyling, etc., I'm like, what? I'm confused.
And do you play any instruments?
Yeah. I mean, I grew up conga, percussion. I've been teaching myself piano for the last couple of years. I stopped.
Can you describe that piano experience?
I was the most terrible piano player that you could ever hear. Like, I used to play piano at my friend Mitzi's house. Laura was there. You were there. And I was just so determined to learn, because I love piano. And I feel like it's my second voice. And it was awful. But I practiced and I practiced, and I found something that I liked, and I kept playing it over and over and over again. And then I started kind of just listening to songs and trying to recreate it myself. And now I can, like, improvise my ass off on piano. I have this one composition that I play, which I tried to make, like, 13-minute composition on my own, which I'm, like, really proud of. And that's, like, yeah, I like piano.
And you said you practice 3 hours a day, every day.
I used
at Smith?
to. Yeah,
every day for 3 years, you said?
No. That's a lot. I used to practice, like, there's 7 days in a week. So I worked there 4 days of the week. And so whenever I was at work or in between shifts or, like, whatever, I worked in a keyboard room. So I had access to all the keyboards, and I also had access to all the piano rooms. And I would probably go in there for, like, I don't know, 4 days out of the week, 5 days out of the week. and play for at least 3 hours. Whenever I'm in the piano rooms, I get lost, and so I just stay there all day. Like, I don't leave unless I have class, and there have been times when I like got so into it, or like in between during class, I'm bored in class, so I go play piano in the keyboard room next door because I'm just like, fuck this class, it sucks. But yeah, I was really persistent, and I really wanted to get better. And I can't read music at all, and I can't play pieces, really, but I can improvise and I can make things up. And I'd rather have the ability to create something than to play something that somebody already made anyway.
What?